Welcome to some bonus ThrabenU content. I have, as of right now, recorded 5 Cube videos that I'm going to be putting up on Saturdays for the next month. Cube is something that doesn't normally do well on my channel, so if you enjoy these, like, comments, tell me you subscribe because of this video, that sort of stuff, make me a donation. Show me that it is worth my time to post these Cube videos, and they might end up continuing in the future. If you enjoy buying magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your next order. And with that being said, I hope you enjoy these videos. There's not going to be a fancy ending to them or anything. They're just going to abruptly end. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day when you finish watching the video. Alrighty, here we go. I don't necessarily think there's standout card in this pack. Like we've got no Moxon level power. I don't really think we have a build around card. There's a relatively good ramp card in Devoted Druid here. I wouldn't be embarrassed to start there. But I don't necessarily know that I want to commit myself to green. I'm probably going to take a Talisman or Thran Dynamo as my early pick. Let's take the generic Talisman that can probably slot into, like, any deck. We continue that note and take a Pentad Prism as follow-up. Fast Bond is potentially something that could be unfair. I don't think this comes back around. Take a fetch land, stay generically open. There are some reasonable black creatures here. I could take a speculative Embercleave and go like a red aggro direction. I think I'm going to try to stay open until I get some stronger sign about some sort of thing that might be available. This is more the sort of thing that I was looking for. Natural Order is a real reason to be in green ramp. It's a little awkward that I have artifact stuff first because there's more efficient green ramping and creature-based stuff is good. But there's a lot of green in this pack. Okay. Alright, folks, I think we have a lane that we're going in. What's this one? Sure. I'm fine with a 4/4 trample haste. Could take something like a Rot Farm or a Waterlogged Grove for potential fixing. Blue is a color I'd probably like to end up in some portion of the time. I think I'm just going to try to cut green really hard this pack, though, and try to get rewarded in pack 3. That is a really late Yogswill. I could try to pivot here, but I think I'm going to continue cutting these green cards really, really, really hard and hope that pays off later in the draft. Ooh. Nurturing Peatland is reasonable, Garden is reasonable, Titania is reasonable. But this is very late and is another way to get my Craterhoof into play. I kind of think Show and Tell is a trap in Cube, though. I think it's very easy for this card to backfire. I'm almost more interested in just playing the Monolith, because some portion of the times that'll be a turn 2 play for my deck. And will help cast other large cards. I don't know this one. Return or Embark. Return. I return them to 2 cards for the graveyard to hand. If I bark, then wheel. Let's say no to that and just pick up a Skull Clamp. Ends up being reasonable with Mana Dorks. This is still in the pack. That is a very, very good sign. That green is wide the fuck open. I don't think we're going into a second color this draft. Like, I'm not going to avoid a second color or anything. But when a generically good Mana Dork wheels, I'm in. Okay, I can take a speculative land here, which I guess I am going to do over something like Porcelain Legionnaire. This is going to make a blue splash very easy if I feel like that's a thing that I want to do. Uh, understood. Alright, we got a few just random cards at the end there. Let's ignore that. Let's ignore that. I'm gonna keep the lands out to remind me for now. Well, this is a bit of a stronger pack. We've got a mana crypt here. I'm gonna take that, but Chariot, Cradle, and Hierarch are all good things that I would be happy to be playing in this pack. Um, I don't know that I'm going to end up wanting a Grist. If I get something like a Natural Order, it starts sounding pretty good. So at this point, I'm looking for green or colorless fatties is the rest of the sentence that I was going to say. We might be able to get like Questing Beast back or maybe Ulamog back. I think I'm just going to ramp to the 6 mana thing rather than the 11 mana thing. And be pretty happy. Wormcoil Engine is one of my favorite cube cards of all time, so we're good with that. I don't know you. Get a land, get a Saproling. We're not going to be playing that many basic land types. That one's a no. I'm going to have a decent number of colorless cards the way this deck is currently trending. I don't know that I'm into this. It's probably one of these two for me. Woodfall Primus as a natural order target is pretty attractive. Sky Sovereign is a generically good card to ramp into. Can make our mana dorks a little better. I'm going to just make sure I have a second natural order target before anything else. Recurring Nightmare. Recurring Nightmare is a very fun card. I think I am just going to take good old Sakura Tribe Elder, though. I'm hoping to take this Pentad Prism out of my deck and just run a bunch of forests as my mana base. I'll still probably play something like this just as some flood insurance. Okay, we got 2 reasonable cards in this pack. One is a decent top end card. This would not be embarrassing to natural order for, and it's pretty good to just cast. But I think Llanowar Elves is exactly what I am looking for here. It is a mana accelerant while being a creature for natural order. So, Razor is a 1-drop that is kind of acceleration sometimes, sort of like Sakura Tribe Scout. I don't think we're going to end up being a Life from the Loam gamer. I might just take Prismatic Vista here. Like, Courser makes fetch lands more interesting than they normally might be. And if I do end up with some really powerful blue card, I can do that. I could also take Mystical Tutor as a tutor for natural order, though. Let's do that. Primeval Titan and Tireless Tracker. And Batterskull, actually. I find it very hard to pass Batterskull. Like, Batterskull and Wormcoil Engine give me so much versus fair decks. You're an extra land drop, right? I guess we'll play that. We're not, I think, going into red this late in the draft. And I don't think I'm interested in something like Zurin Orb. Alright, we don't get Cradle or Hierarch back. That's not overly surprising. On the off chance that I do end up wanting to play the blue, I'll grab that. We'll just send this one directly to the sideboard. I'm not playing that. Chalice this late? Okay. I'll pick up a Wasteland just in case that Life from the Loam comes back. I'm a genius. We're gonna move this blue to the sideboard and not intending on playing that. Move the Pentad Prism to the board. It's not going to work super well with the Mana Crypt and some of the other colorless mana that I have. We're going to end up fine on playables. I would like the deck to look better than this by the end of the draft. Valakut Exploration is a thing that could make that Life from the Loam even better. Board of Garenbrig. This can do some pretty cool, somewhat unfair things as far as combat goes. I don't know if I'm going to play that in the game 1 deck. But I think it's more interesting than a disenchant that might just make it around anyway. We're hoping to get super paid off in this pack for cutting green hard in pack 1. Oh, Minskadboo is strong. Tinker is actually pretty reasonable. Tinker for Wormcoil. Tinker for Batterskull. I have like 3 blue lands already. And I could get paid off with an even better artifact card this pack. We might be a blue-green gamer now, and we have Natural Order and Tinker as the unfair things we can do other than just Mana Crypt. Simic Growth Chamber probably doesn't end up coming back around. Flash? Flash is weird. Flash Woodfall is cute. Flash Craterhoof is cute. Flash Wormcoil is cute. I should probably just take the Nissa, though. Like, most of my lands are going to be forest. It just scales up any mana dork well. I don't think flashing one of these creatures in necessarily just wins the game on the spot, so I think I ignore it. Subtlety, Dryad, Mox Diamond is reasonable. Dryad is reasonable. It's also a way to cast blue spells. Exploration, Life from the Lone Wasteland. I don't know, Wasteland Lock is going to be less good than normal because people will play a lot of basics. I don't know which one of these two to take here. Let's take the Exploration. It gives us something and Crucible? Is this just a thing we're doing? I feel like this deck got kind of confused in this pack. I think my build stage I'm going to have some shit to figure out. I'll very happily take an Ooze. I don't think there's anything for us here. I'm going to take that Valakut for the sideboard in case the Dryad comes back around. What do you do? Can't sacrifice. That's an awkward regrowth. Let's just take Triplicate Titan in case I want to play that for Tinker. We're not really in red for Questing Druid. I don't really want this. I'm going to take a generic colorless card. Simic Growth Chamber comes back. In case I do end up playing the... that came back. Okay. Well, we can definitely do some lands matter stuff. I kind of wish I had some more blue card draw to better take advantage of all these extra land stuff. Court of Garenbrig probably ends up being better than I thought it would be. We'll grab a Pyrite Spellbomb. Am I on drugs? Why am I getting the second to last pick Vampiric Tutor? I would have gone that recurring nightmare route early on. Maybe I would have got paid off pretty hard. Alright, and Fire Covenant just goes and rounds things out. I'm going to have some serious work to do here in terms of tuning this. So I'm really unsure about this build, but after thinking about it for a few, I think this is where I'm going to end up. I'm going to play the blue for Mystical Tutor and Tinker, and this gives me something relatively unfair to do in making a 9/9 technically as soon as turn 1, right? I can go blue land, Mana Crypt, Tinker, 9/9. I think that's a thing I would like my deck to do, and Mystical Tutor gives me a way to do that on turn 2. Mystical Tutor is also a way to Natural Order for Hoof and Woodfall Primus. I will say my creature count in this deck is a little lower than I thought it would end up being at 11. But Essica's Chariot and Nissa and Batterskull are also kind of creatures. So I think that number's not quite as bad as it looks. The biggest thing I was on the fence about is like, what do I do with this like Crucible Exploration Wasteland stuff? And I think the answer is just save it for post sideboard games against like greedy 4 to 5 color control decks. Intuition is playable as another tutor to kind of make sure I do my most powerful thing all the time, but I think that one ends up being a little awkward because I can get like Tinker Natural Order and then some like fair 5-drop or something, and I end up with the fair 5-drop I think most of the time. So I don't think I want to do a 3-mana tutor for a 5-drop. I am awkwardly going to end up playing the Pentad Prism. I think My artifact count is low enough that if I want to be tutoring for Tinker, I do need the extra artifact in the deck. So let's see how this one does in practice. All right, I have kept a hand that plays turn 3 natural order off Devoted Druid. Oh shit. We vintage gamers out here? That's pretty good. No. No more, please. Holy fuck. My opponent's deck is gas. Like, I was excited about my legacy hand, and my opponent is out here fucking playing vintage on me. We'll see how this goes. I can get Woodfall Primus and, like, destroy either the land or the mana vault. Oh, goddamn, my opponent has a literal fucking vintage deck. Coveted Jewel Shops is a vintage deck. What the fuck is this? This is some shit. I'm sorry, my turn 3 natural order isn't enough. This is wild. I'm gonna cast a paradoxical outcome now. Just float a bunch of mana. PO. This is 8 mana, turn 2. Fuck me. Okay. So now that just gets to bolt my Devoted Druid. Maybe if I play Everflowing Chalice, I can... Man, this thing just gets to ultimate in one more turn. Fuck. I always just will bolt my Druid if I play it out. I guess I'm going to just kick this, and maybe I can end up in a situation where I play like a 1 mana card followed by natural order for Woodfall Primus and get myself out of this game. Like, you know it's bad when your opponent just casually untaps a mana vault. So I guess the conceptual plan is play this creature, play Talisman, and then see if my opponent wants to ultimate Ugin or kill this. Oh, you just have other things to do too. Oh, okay, that's fine. But I probably just lose to a whole bunch of permanents coming into play if my opponent ultimates. Probably. Alright, they are just gonna kill that creature. Oh my god. Their deck is so insane. Like, oh, they're just... Okay. Well, Wormcoil Engine is a really good card to draw against this stuff. Let's not show my opponent blue. Let's Wormcoil. Last card's a counter spell. Son of a bitch. That's savage. I think we're done so then. Alright. So Tezzeret just ultimates for the win. Okay. Okay. I don't know that I can beat this deck. I think the way that I beat this deck is by maybe stopping the unfair lands. Like, I can board up this sort of stuff and have a shot at destroying Valerian Academy and Workshop. So I think I'm going to pull some generic non-essential cards for these. I still think my opponent's deck is more powerful than mine. I don't think I'm supposed to board the Intuition. Yeah. This has a chance to do something unfair on my end. So, yeah. Talisman. Let's go blue and green for a Pentad Prism. So what next turn? I've got 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can just hardcast a hoof on 3, assuming I find 1 land. Oh, we got Moxen too, just casually. Fuck. Alright, let's see if I get lightning bolted. Tails never fails. Told you. Now. So we'll drop a Crucible. It currently doesn't do anything. And even if I draw the Wasteland, my opponent currently has basic Island. Again, though, I am totally happy with turn 3 cast Crater Hoof and just start getting in there. I'll get dazed in hilarious fashion, but, you know. Did no one just take any artifact mana in their entire draft? I want to know how this happened. This is wild. Tails never fails. Told you. 13. I'm getting in there. Like, if I get dazed, it's sort of embarrassing, but I don't think I'm going to win the long game versus my opponent's deck. So, like, let's put him on a clock. Every point of damage could end up mattering if this mana vault gets tapped. Whatever this is, I don't like it. Upheaval. Cool. And then my opponent will just replay all their artifact mana. That's maybe not a game-ending upheaval since I have Mana Crypt. Like, it'll still be very good, though. So they're just going to play a 7/10 on an empty board. I mean, that's pretty good. Oh, Mana Crypt. Talisman. This kills me in 2 hits because my Mana Crypt has not been cooperative. Not getting that 3rd hit is kind of a big deal. I guess this doesn't trample? I'm thinking whether or not I want an extra body for Hoof getting cast or just extra mana. I think I want the extra mana because this point of damage doesn't matter. I guess I can still play Elf from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 next turn. Let's go ahead and play the Elf. This puts my opponent to 13. I'm not going to chump block this turn. I might do it next turn. Alright, Mana Crypt. Tails never fails. Okay. The Monarch. Is that the plan? I don't want it to be the plan, but it sure does look like the plan. Not going to get to distribute the counters or anything. Alright, so I guess we're going to draw an extra card with Monarch. Chump block, and try to find a way to beat that Sundering Titan. Come on, deck. I have a bounce spell from Atlanta Werewolves. No. This is 12. That's fine. So we are on chump block duty. Could die to my own Mana Crypt. Would. This is an up 2. I don't have to select their Sundering Titan. Tails never fails. Told you. That sure is a land. At this point, I don't really think I have instant speed things I can draw off the Monarch. Yeah, I don't. That get me out of this situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I am 1 mana short. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 1 mana short of Craterhoof Chump Block. Opponent's deck is very good. So this is a weird one. I have Sakura Tribe Scout with Simic Growth Chamber, which is like kind of cute in terms of acceleration, but I have both of my natural order targets in hand and nothing to do with the Tinker. I'm going to say no to this one. Oh gosh, that is most unfortunate. This one goes back. We're on 5. The 5's pretty good. Yeah, no, the 5's fine. We'll keep the 5. Get rid of Ooze and Court. And just turn to natural order for Woodfall Primus, blow up a land. Mulligan, proving powerful, even in cube. Okay, I am not going to show the Mana Crypt on turn 1. That can be punished sometimes by things like Spell Pierce or Thoughtseize, but I don't think I need to potentially take 3 damage for no reason. So, am I just going to jam a natural order into something like a Spell Pierce? You bet your ass I am. Let's go. We are going for the Woodfall Primus and just nuking my opponent's island. Well, Ancestral Recall is a good one to cast. Importantly, my opponent doesn't have any free counter magic in their deck, so I know I'm not playing against like Daze, Force of Will, Force of Negation, or my opponent would have cast Ancestral in response to Natural Order on the stack. Yeah, you can absolutely Ragavan. And their Ancestral is just going to cause them to discard some cards. It looks like my opponent is playing fair. Yeah. Sure. So we'll float a mana here. This lets us play lands from the top of our library specifically. So I will go ahead and gain my life, bash my opponent for 6. And the Courser here is a really good draw because it means my opponent doesn't get to like Ragavan in and just have the chance of randomly hitting something like my Tinker. The Courser showing my opponent exactly what they're going to hit with Ragavan is definitely a little bit weird. But we are very far ahead of my opponent right now. Yeah, let's play the land drop off the top. Mystical Tutor. Does it matter if my opponent Mystical Tutors? I don't even want to draw this card right now. Well, I guess it's still a Tinker a turn from now. I'm always doing this. Let's cast this. I guess I don't want my opponent to hit a bounce spell. Alright, let's crash it for the 6. And not the 8. It does mean that I'm not necessarily presenting lethal next turn. My opponent needs a bounce spell, like red burn, not necessarily good against Woodfall Primus. And then I just like hardcast it, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I probably just end up hardcasting it. Swamp, Mountain, Forest. Animate Dead on True Name Nemesis. I don't super care about because Woodfall Primus has Trample. And I can also just get a Triplicate Titan, which I believe has some number of keywords that are annoying. Alright, win the flip. Play a land. Buff on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just cast a hoof next turn. I maybe don't even cast this Mystical Tutor. Yeah, let's try to protect the hoof on top. Yep, so we deal air quotes lethal damage to True Name. And then pass the turn. The Woodfall Primus on its own is lethal on current board, not even counting Crater Hoof. Alright, cool. My opponent has a lot of colors. So the Wasteland Crucible type stuff might end up being pretty good. I don't really have fair removal to board in for things like Ragavan. Like, I don't want to adjust my mana base to play Pirate Spellbomb or anything like that. The court becomes worse if my opponent has early creatures like Ragavan and unblockable things like True Name. It showed me Animate Dead, which I can't super adjust for. I guess I have a Scavenging Ooze. That's a thing. I don't want to get Wasteland and Crucible in here. I don't know that I Life from the Loam against this opponent because like my Natural Order and Tinker targets not getting milled over matters a lot. Maybe let's not Mystical this game and do Crucible Wasteland, not Life from the Loam. So this is turn 3 Batterskull with 2 currently dead cards in hand. I think I'm just gonna keep it. And the reason why, I would mulligan a hand like this in Constructed, but in Limited, every time you mulligan, it really lowers your chance to win, just like objectively. I'm gonna make up numbers because I don't know what the numbers is, but a lot of times, like you mulligan once in Limited, and your win percent drops by like 5% or something like that. So I am a little bit more likely to keep a slightly sketchy Limited hand than I am a Constructed hand. Alright, let's see what our opponent has for us. Alright, my opponent just makes a land drop and passes. Not super keen on lands. I think I hold Mana Crypt until it's relevant. And trying to avoid free lightning bolts. Rixus Gamer over there. Ooh. So this could just be my opponent getting Ancestral. Or they could have something unfair that they can do. Like, I've seen Animate Dead. Entomb wouldn't be crazy. I might want to play my Mana Crypt out this turn, even if I don't have a valid play. Maybe I need to go down 1 land from what I'm playing. Like, I do want to hardcast my baddies at the end of my curve, which is why I still played 17 despite having quite a bit of mana acceleration. Maybe I should just be on 16. Right, my opponent did just go for Ancestral. That's fine. That's fine. I'm gonna be... What does this do? Sure, that's fine. If I take 3 for playing out the Mana Crypt. I don't. Sakura Tribe Scout is one draw too late to the party. I don't really think I'm disappointed by it. Alright, batter skulls around. See what my opponent can do. Ooh, they have Moxen. Alright, so they're just gonna do the revealing eye side of this. It is a 3/4 menace creature on the back. Alright, my opponent took my triplicate Titan, which gives me natural order. Which is something really good to do with Sakura Tribe Scout. I can't block the menace creature. Tails never fails. Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus Wasteland. Wastelanding my opponent takes him off of 3 mana interaction. Doesn't look like they have any interaction. But makes this good. Natural order. Sacrifice Sakura Tribe Scout. Get Woodfall Primus. I can take them off of red. That's probably more valuable than anything else. Now I have 10 power inboard to their 3. Knocked my opponent off a color. I mean, Snapcaster Ancestral is pretty hot. Or Snapcaster Demonic Tutor. Yep, alright, they're just drawing 3 cards. But my opponent might be in the classic control player spot where they just die with a full grip because I have just done something too aggressive. What that? Whenever you cast a legendary spell, untap it, it loots. For 6 mana, it transforms. When a source deals damage to its controller, exile a card from their hand at random. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Okay, got it. No, that's definitely awkward. Might end up equipping the Batterskull to Woodfall Primus. To just create the trample creature from hell. Tails? Not this time. This ability can only be activated as a sorcery. My opponent could do it on their turn. If I equip to Woodfall Primus, chump blocks aren't a thing on this Batterskull damage. I think I'm into. It will make me worse against a bounce spell. But I think the 2-turn clock, pretty much no matter what here, is very attractive. Alright, so my opponent is going to soak up 4 damage. That's fine. Well, I guess I can soak up 5. Going for the loot. Junking a land. Cycling a land. That is probably not a good sign for my opponent. And we put a win on the board. This is what I came here to fucking do. Wow, this hand is good. The Forest, Mana Crypt, Dryad, extra land drop, Llanowar Elves on turn 1. Man, that's so good. Opponent is Chrome Moxen. Ooh, putting an Exhume under there. That is a good card. So we Dryad, Forest, and Llanowar Elves, and we're out here looking like our round 1 opponent. Like, that was just absolutely incredible. Some portion of the time I get Wormcoil Engine on turn 2. Orcish Bowmasters, okay. We do not get Wormcoil Engine on turn 2. But my opponent doesn't get in for Wormcoil damage. Or sorry, for Orcish Bowmaster's chip damage. And I'll just be able to play Wormcoil Engine another turn down the line. They also Chrome Moxed a really good card in order to do this. So I'm good with where we're at. Simic Growth Chamber. So float a mana, play this, bounce a forest, play a forest, play a Devoted Druid. I think I'm just going to go ahead and still just play this as a land rather than try to cycle it. Fine attacking. Take 1 damage back. I don't think I need to. Like, my opponent might be doing something fair enough that I just play like Wormcoil Engine and it wins. Mardu plus blue. Okay. That's slightly more concerning. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to attack with Dryad because, like, Mana Crypt could bleed me dry some portion of the time. Bam. Wormcoil. 1, 2. Sakura Tribe Elder. With Wormcoil in play now, I'm fine making this attack. Opponent's at 18. We'll see if they can do something more unfair than my Worm Coil. Fable is not that. It could become unfair in the future. You don't have any special words on you. No, not a man land or anything. Alright, I'm going to keep this body around. It may end up being a chump blocker. One my flip. You go in. You probably go in as well. I've still got 2 blockers on the backswing. I don't think I care about extra mana off of this since my opponent has a mana crypt in play that they're actively not using. Drop a land and pass. This looting could be very good for my opponent because, like, I know they actively Fire Covenant and Corpse Dance. Alright, so we're in Grixis Reanimator E territory. That's fine. It's a little annoying because it's something I can trade with Wormcoil Engine and is really good with the back end of Fable. I'd probably end up overpowering that. This is fine. I don't think I just like block and sack this yet because it's extra bodies mean these little things aren't attacking. Keep going with tails. I am going to hit in with both of these again. I want to pressure my opponents. Actually, I'll probably hit in with this too. I want to maximally mess with my opponent's life total here before this Fable stuff gets online. As Fable Baleful Strix is really annoying for my Wormcoil Engine based win conditions. And like my opponent has realized that by not trading Strix for Wormcoil. Yeah, and they're going to attack with the Strix this turn because they're not willing to block with it because they want to copy it. Sure. Alright. Really need a live draw this turn. I don't think it needs to be anything impressive. I think I just need a reasonable Magic the Gathering card, and I'm okay. Thank you, deck. Very cool. Swinging with this. Swinging with this. This represents lethal. So Bowmasters blocks Wormcoil. This attack doesn't make any sense. Yep. The opponent's at 5, but the last couple points of damage are going to be tough. The real Strix can attack in. And then my opponent can do Reflection of Kiki Jiki nonsense on the Strix. You have Ninjutsu? You do. This is the discard 2. Player exiles the top 2 cards of their library until end of turn. You may play those without paying their mana costs. Oh, holy shit, that's bad. That can hit some of the things that I was just going to wait this game out for. Oh, God. Yeah, that is 2 of my best draws right there, because this just creates multiple things that let me go wide. And Tinker is Tinker. Tinker was going to get me Replicate Titan, which is another just very good way. My opponent might stabilize here. Like this is very good. I think you're supposed to leave that untapped and just use a treasure. Like you're flush with mana. That's a duress effect. That's fine. I guess the question is like, do you have a Tinker target in your deck? Putrid Imp. Sure. All right. No good Tinker target. One my flip. Damn deck. Damn. All right. At this point, I'm fully on the defensive, and I think I've lost. Like my opponent can make an extra end of turn Baleful Strix and just draw a card, get in for extra damage. That was an absolute beating. Like drawing either the Tinker or the Nessa has me very much in this game still. But now I think my opponent can just go wide of my Wormcoil Engine, or just like, oh, they're getting aggressive. That's reasonable. I want 1, 2, 3, 4 in the air per turn cycle. Like I can still just break this game open by drawing Hoof and trampling through for a win. Like, game's not over, but life's bad. And this was that insane game where I started on like Mana Crypt Dryad. Oh fuck. in Llanowar Alpha on turn 1. We're gonna lose this one. Alright, they leave back 1 Strix, that's fine. What's the ultimate on this? Lands are indestructible. The forest part, not so much relevant. I think this is my last turn to draw a reasonable card. Scavenging Ooze doesn't really do it. I guess I'll play it. Like, every turn that I stay alive is a turn to draw Crater Hoof and steal this game. So I guess that's a thing. But the Troll's pseudo unblockable plus Nissa's go wide ability is leaving me in a real bad spot. I guess I just never drew. I guess I just never really drew another piece of gas this entire game. Like I guess that's my problem. Like, I'm 17 cards deep into my deck and I only drew Warp Coil Engine. And all my big bombs are castable. And that Fallen Shinobi trigger super screwed me. Am I just gonna get fired? Oh, what the hell? Sure. Hit my fucking Crater Hoof. Just hit my Crater Hoof. My natural order. Well, that one doesn't do anything over there. But this is just copyable with Reflection of Kiki Jiki. That's disgusting. Opponent's deck is sweet. I think it is noticeably slower than mine. Like, it takes a long time for this sort of stuff to get going. But I just sort of floated out, so... C'est la vie. I'm at 17. Sure. Goodbye, Strix. I will eat these extra cards out of my opponent's graveyard. Although I don't think that is likely to matter. It is free to do so. We're running hot on mana crypts. God damn it, deck. Yeah. Another land drop. I guess my opponent could just turn this into a Blightsteel Colossus. That certainly is not good for me either. I guess this can only be activated as a sorcery, so that's cool. Alright, Blightsteel Colossus has arrived. Opponent not going for copying with Reflection of Kiki Jiki. I think they might be being too conservative. I haven't done math, but I assume Hoof kills them. Alright, so I need to block this with 2 toughness to not die. Just throw Devoted Druid in front then. And then I can eat it with Ooze. Oh wait, do you do regular damage too? Fuck, you do regular damage too. That is not infect. Not great. I'm glad I mean, I misread that, but I'm glad I didn't misread that in a way that just immediately kills me. Sure. Tails. Lose the flip. Batter Skull. I think at this point I am just going to concede. I don't have removal to bring in. Like, how many gas cards am I drawing towards? Like, am I just a crazy person? I don't think I am, right? Counting Essica's Chariot and Court. Yeah, so a fourth of my deck is things that I would kind of categorize as finishers or reasonable payoff cards, and I just drew one of those cards. Okay. We'll just kind of accept the variance that occurred there. I think I am into Crucible Wasteland versus this opponent, and my opponent has enough small creatures, and it doesn't look like they have removal, that playing Valakut alongside Dryad is probably not crazy. Like, let's go 1 forest out. Do I want Exploration? Exploration might be too deep, even with my opponent's number of non-basics. Like, this is still a body. I don't know. Maybe I do want to cut the X1 body, since my opponent is a Bowmaster's deck. I don't think I cut the Llanowar Elves. I think that one's too good. Cut the Mystical. Yeah, no, this is very good. Although my very good hand last time wasn't good enough, so there's that. We Metacrypt, Talisman, 2 mana, Devoted Druid, and we just have turn 2 Wormcoil Engine. Well, I think we lost when we did that last time, so, you know. Alright, cool. Lose our flip. Wasteland is insane. Yaw. This is 5. Untap. 6 for Wormcoil. Feel good about this game as of right now. Alright, cool. That's fine. That is a way for my opponent to do something unfair that could potentially beat my Wormcoil engine, though. So, that's a thing. Let's recoup my life loss here. Our opponent just taking the block. Do you have a creature to discard? An Atraxa. Yeah, like this is a very real path forward for my opponent to beat what I'm doing. Everything's Bayous. I'll plan on attacking with this. I think that's real good. That's real good. This is the Crucible Wasteland pivot sideboard plan of our dreams. We'll take out that Urborg. We get to see immediately if my opponent is playing something like Orcish Bowmasters. Cool. So that was good. Play Exploration on the draw to be a little better at catch-up. Don't think I'm going to do that. How is this hand? So it has Natural Order, but no Mana Dork. It has 2 pieces of Mana Acceleration. The hand doesn't have a plan. Is that fine? Like, is that fine for limited? My issue is that my opponent ends up getting ahead on board of me before court comes down some portion of the time. I'm going to try to keep this. I think it's improved by enough draws that I can't get rid of it. Faithless Looting is very scary. That Atraxa is in play. It just exists. I can't do anything about it. We're not in removal colors. And the worst case scenario of the Atraxa going to the graveyard has occurred. We're hoping to dodge. Like it's limited. It's a high variance format. My opponent probably doesn't have a lot of redundancy, but like if they have it, they have it, and it will beat me. Okay, cool. Chariot is not what I am looking to draw here. I think I'm going to play Pentad Prism this turn over Everflowing Chalice. That gives me 5 mana next turn if I need it. And if I don't draw anything good, I can at least consider Everflowing Chalice on X's too. But by playing Pentad Prism, I open up drawing a Llanowar Elves into Natural Order immediately, which feels like a pretty big deal. Okay, so my opponent gets to take my Natural Order here, which I think eliminates my best top deck. I don't know, I can still top deck Tinker. And my opponent doesn't have anything on board yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana this turn. If I use both charges of Pentad Prism, I might just be using one charge to play Chariot, though. I don't know, I can put the Chalice in play on 1 and then exhaust the Pentad Prism. Let's do that. So we'll play the Chariot. We can use that to spiral the game out of control. And then I can follow up with Court. Playing the Monarch card is a little risky against an Orcish Bowmaster's deck, and also, like, if this happens. Flashback Looting. They loot through 2 mana sources. And that's our turn. Cool. Things could be going much, much worse for us. So, through 4. Ooh, do we have a removal spell? That is going to get exiled, sure. And then land drop into Court. I'll become the Monarch. Pick up an extra card. And call it a turn. Court plus cat tokens is like totally fine. Opponent's going to take some bleed damage from Mana Vault. Cycling a Triumph is probably not where you want to be at this stage of the game. Alright, and we end up positive in this one. Alright, final thoughts on this one. Reasonable deck. I think I should have gone down 1 land. I think I should have played 16 lands or played 17, but played the Wasteland. The Crucible Wasteland stuff definitely helped. I'm not sure that it's supposed to be in the main deck, though. It's definitely high variance in terms of like what my opponent is playing. I think it would have been reasonable to just like play this as a 4/4 that could potentially be bigger and be my like pseudo second Crater Hoof. I definitely did feel not having finishers in some games, but like maybe I switch a land for just anything that has power and toughness, and then I don't really feel that way anymore. But yeah, overall happy. I stayed open with my first couple of picks and ended up with green, which was a relatively open color throughout the draft. Um, we were never beating my first opponent's deck. They just, literally had a vintage deck that was insane, but we got the other 2 rounds, and I'm very happy with that.